Welcome to Bennett's BikeSocial. We are in southern Spain. Behind me is Almeria racetrack, but more importantly, this is BMW's new M1000R. Now this is a big step for BMW because what they've essentially done is taken their superbike engine out the double R and put it in a naked chassis. Now that's quite unique because most manufacturers detune or refuel the bike to make it softer and easier and more manageable, but not BMW. This is 207 brake horsepower. This is market leading naked power. And we've got a full day on road and a few laps of Almeria to see what it's like.
Back in Spain, on looks alone, I mean, look at that. So the big talking point of the bike is the power. Let's be fair. 206 point something horsepower, which is just ridiculous for a naked bike. Makes it the most powerful bike in the class. More than Ducati Street Fighter, more than MV's Brutale. It is a proper piece of kit. And yeah, a little bit apprehensive, nervous. I mean, this is over 200 horsepower in a naked chassis. That's, you know, BSB power not too long ago. Let's go give it a whirl. So just up in the hills, in road mode. So I got lean sensitive everything, traction control, lean sensitive ABS. And what's impressive about this bike so far is it's got 207 horsepower, but it doesn't feel like an animal. Well, not yet. It feels really usable. Like, the fueling is so good, the quick shifter is smooth. It feels like the standard S1000R, which I love, but you know it's got that extra horsepower at the top end. But when you ride it on the road, it doesn't feel like a race bike with no bodywork, like some naked bikes feel in this class. It's super smooth. And we're just in the softest setting in road mode. The dynamic suspension's doing all the work. It's a bit cold. All these roads that are in shadow are really not a lot of grip, but I've got all those rider aids there. And the brakes are incredible. I mean, you barely have to touch them. And look at this road. Oh, what a view. I mean, look at that. Look at this. This is not a bad day, is it? So we're just finishing a bit of the road ride, heading into Almeria racetrack. So the idea is we're just going to head out on track just so we can experience some of the power, because it's difficult to get used to the power when you're on the road. Oh, straight into it then. This is the flying crest you got to be a bit careful of. Into long left. Late apex if I remember. It's strange to be on a racetrack with the heated grips on. Right then, let's stretch her. Follow Chris.
So we're wrapping up after an awesome day on BMW's M1000R. We've had the opportunity to ride on the road and a couple of laps around Almeria. Now the laps around the track were to push the handling was just so we could stretch the cable and see what 207 horsepower feels like. And it feels fast. This is a fast bike. I mean, over 200 horsepower in a naked chassis, that's kind of like BSB superbike power from maybe 10 years ago. It's incredible to think that there was a race for 200 horsepower superbikes, and now naked bikes have it. But what's interesting about this bike is that even though it's got market leading on paper power, it's still usable and rideable and drivable. So some of the competition are quite peaky and quite racy, and this isn't. This will pull from 8,000. But then when you want to make it scream, from 8,000 to 14,000, it feels like a superbike. The hardest bit is actually holding on.
So just finishing the photo location. Playing a little bit with the modes, so I've created my own mode in the Race Pro. So by that you can change the DCT, you can change the anti-wheelie, you can change the ABS, you can change the suspension. So I've just turned off the anti-wheelie for obvious reasons. Added a little bit of traction, softened the fueling to how I like it. And that's the beauty of this bike, you can really personalise and play about with the settings. Suspension, I've kind of left it just in the dynamic, so it's semi-active. Don't feel the need at the moment to change it. The only downside so far is, even though it's 16 degrees, it's quite cool, as in the road's really cold. It must have been cold overnight up here in the mountains, and it's just not gripping like I'd expect. Decent grip, but just not awesome grip.
The rider aids are really impressive. There's a whole host of rider aids that we can play with, and everything is lean sensitive. From the lean sensitive ABS to the slide control, we've even got different ABS modes, so we can turn the ABS for a track setting, so we've just got conventional ABS on the front, and we can slide the rear, we can change the engine brake assist, we've got launch control, we've got up and down quick shifter, lean sensitive traction control, wheelie control, all these rider aids. It's just colossal. And they're all there at our fingertips. You can change the Race Pro and Race Pro 2 to personalise to how you want to ride. So the standard modes, the rain and the road and the dynamic, they're all preset. And obviously they change the power characteristics and the rider aids. But when you go into the Race Pro, you can personalise that. So for example, I've kept the traction control on, but turned off the anti-wheelie, and changed the engine brake a little, and changed the fueling so it's a little bit softer. And that's the beauty of this bike, you can really personalise it. The wings are obviously new for this year. Apart from looking aggressive, they do make a difference. It's not the most scientific way to test wings, but it's slightly difficult to wheelie the bike once you get going to a speed. So when you come over a crest or on track at Almeria in 3rd, 4th gear, you can feel that it's not as flighty as some of the bikes in this class. But as I say, that's not as scientific as it can be.
Come on, Chris! So it's kind of getting to the stage in the afternoon where we've done plenty of miles. And to be honest, it's an incredibly difficult bike to find fault with. I thought by putting a superbike engine in it, that it'd be like peaky or hard to ride, or... But it is. The wings you feel, but again, it's strange because it's actually a little bit harder to wheelie than the standard bike because the wings create downforce that stop wheelies. It's a weird kind of experience I've not really had on a naked bike before, even though I've rode naked bikes with wings. So I just want to show you a few little bits about the bike while we're just negotiating time. So it's really cold, the tyres are cold, and the great way to test the traction is on these slippery white lines. So just give her a bit of a handful and then do a little spin, and usually that's the traction kicking in, stopping the spinning. So yeah, lovely. Oh, traction's so smooth, fueling is smooth. And then if I go to the menu and I go across to sport, how nice is that dash? Got lean, brake, and DCT. Sweet.
In terms of negativity, feels a little bit vibey in places. I feel a few tingles through the pegs and a few through the bars. Personally, I don't like flip up levers. It's just, that's a little pet hate of mine. And aside from that, it's pretty difficult to fault. As I say, I thought BMW might spoil the S1000R, which I love, which is a brilliant bike, by giving it 40 something more horsepower. I thought it might lose its tractability and its usability. But around town at slow speeds, ridden like an everyday bike, it fuels perfectly, the quick shifter's smooth, it rides like a docile, friendly, usable bike. Then when you get to Almeria and you get on the back straight, you could unleash 207 horses and it's just so fast. This is finally a naked bike that BMW can really take the fight to the Street Fighter V4 and the Brutale, those 200 horsepower naked bikes. What we need to do though is really put it against the competition, and I can't wait for that test. The BMW versus the MV and the Street Fighter. But I think I'm going to need to go down the gym because my arms are going to need to be stronger.